Dinging in the background. All right, everybody, welcome. So let's get started. There's gonna be some people kind of locking on as we get started, so that's no problem. Let me actually go ahead and start by changing my name so you can actually see what my name is. There we go. All right, so my name is Aaron Klapper, for those of you that don't know me. This is a weekly call that we do really just to support all of us in generating more business. I've been involved in coaching for almost 20 years, and I've picked up a ton of tools along the way. And that's what we do, is we just share anything that we can do to support each other in building business and growing business. And this is all about agents helping agents. That's kind of what we're about and how we roll. And we want to support each other. When you do better and I do better, we all do better. It's a good thing for everybody. So we're going to continue on our topic of lead follow-up. We left off last week, and we're going to pick that right back up. And we have probably another 1 or 2 calls just going on through lead follow-up, and then we're going to move on to, well, I'm not sure yet. Maybe we'll move on to pre-qualifying or some other aspect of the business, but it's all good stuff. So let's move on with lead follow-up. And the point we're going to start with today is this. And just as a quick introduction to lead follow-up for those of you that weren't on last week's call, we started out with prospecting. You have to learn how to prospect and develop leads, and whether those leads are going to be from your past clients or your center of influence, or from people, other business associates that you know, or from cold calling or door knocking or whatever. You have a lead. Maybe it's a Zillow lead, maybe it's an open house lead, but there's somebody that you have collected their information and they have become a lead through your prospecting, through your lead generation, through a referral, or through something else. And then you have to be effective at doing lead follow-up. And lead follow-up accounts for virtually 70% of our business, really. In other words, when you first talk to somebody, it's like you're always just setting an appointment on that first call. There's a level of lead follow-up that is required to do this business at a very high level, to do it in a very effective level. So lead follow-up is something we spend a lot of time honing our skills on and becoming really, really good at, because it really is, it's a way to just, as you get better at lead follow-up, your income goes up, your business goes up, and it's just a wonderful skill to continuously improve on. So the next point on lead follow-up is this. Remember that lead follow-up is like prospecting. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. So what does that mean? What it means is that when you guys are prospecting for business, whether you're getting a referral from a past client, or you're getting a referral from your center of influence, or you're going on open houses and you're talking to people, or you're a cold caller or a door knocker, or you're calling expired listings or for sale by owners, all of those actions are a numbers game. In other words, when you understand that not every person you talk to is going to be a lead, is going to turn into a listing or a sale, you understand there's a little bit of a game to it, right? You have to be okay with not every single conversation turning into business, turning into listings, and turning into money, and turning into income. It's a process, and you understand that prospecting is a numbers game, right? If you're doing an open house and 20 people come through, you're not going to have 20 more deals from that. Maybe you'll have 1 or 2, maybe 0, maybe 4, who knows? But it's a numbers game, and it's the same thing with lead follow-up. As you develop these leads, you have to understand that not every one of these leads is going to turn into a deal. That's actually very freeing, because it means you don't have to be super greedy about them all. You don't have to, treat each one. I mean, you treat them with respect. You follow up with them appropriately and effectively, but understand that it's a numbers game. Some of them will work out, some of them won't work out. So it's okay to be somewhat unattached to the outcome with this. It's okay for you to qualify somebody and learn that they're not really a lead. And it's okay to put them aside and go look for new ones. The problem that I had in the beginning of my career is I was very greedy with leads. I never let a lead go. And what ended up happening is I collected hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leads, and then I couldn't follow up with any of them. I was totally ineffective as a business person because I was just too greedy and taking too many leads and I couldn't follow up with them effectively. So by understanding it's a numbers game, this point really, the point of this point is that they're just a name on a piece of paper. They don't have more value than you need to give them. And so it gives you a little bit of comfort in knowing that some will work out and some won't, and that's okay in both ways. Leads have no actual value. Appointments and contracts have value. If you do an open house and you collect 5 leads, 6 leads from that open house, those leads are just a name on a piece of paper. They have no intrinsic value if you never do anything with them. That's where the lead follow-up comes into play. If you have a name on a piece of paper, what are you going to do with it? You're certainly not going to go buy lunch with it. No one's going to pay you for it. It's only when you can take that lead and call them and follow up with them and turn them into an appointment that then it starts to have some value. So leads have no value, appointments and contracts have value, which basically means the whole point of lead follow-up is what? It's to set an appointment, right? The whole point of lead follow-up is to set an appointment. Keep that in mind when you're doing your lead follow-up calls. The objective is to turn them into appointments as soon as possible, or quite honestly, to get rid of them as a lead. The objective is to call all your leads rigorously. If you have 5 or 25 or 2, call them and ask them to set an appointment. Now, what is the lead follow-up script? It's 2 very simple questions. Question number 1, do you still need to buy or sell a home, right? I mean, the pleasantries, you know, hey, Chad, we met at the open house. How are you? It's good to catch up and talk to you again. I just had 2 quick questions for you. Chad, do you still need to buy a home? And the answer is yes or no. And then the follow-up question is, if it's a yes, great. Can we set an appointment for this week? It is literally that simple. Always look at the following question carefully. Is my mindset managing leads or going on appointments? Is your mindset managing leads or is it going on appointments? If your mindset is managing leads, how many appointments do you think you'll actually go on? Hey, Sean, just wanted to check in. How are you? Is everything good? Great. Okay, good to talk to you. Have a good day. Bye. Boy, you'll collect a lot of leads if you do that. Hey, Sean, we met at the open house. I wanted to check in. Are you still looking to buy or sell a home? Great. Can we set an appointment for this week? Super simple. That appointment has value. So as you develop a mindset around lead follow-up, it's about setting an appointment. That's really kind of where the rubber meets the road in all of this. Prospecting turns into leads, leads turn into appointments, appointments turn into listings and sales, which turn into escrows, which turn into paychecks, and you do it all over again. Super simple. The primary purpose of our lead follow-up is to keep reselling our clients on an appointment, not just keep building rapport. A lot of these points are saying similar things, but it really is to drive the very simple point of what lead follow-up is, the value of lead follow-up, and how to do it effectively. So the primary purpose of lead follow-up is to keep reselling our clients on setting an appointment, not just keep building rapport, right? So if I'm following up with Laura, hey, we met at the open house a couple of weeks ago. I just wanted to follow up and see how you're doing. When you came in, you had your 2 kids with you. They were, you know, the 4-year-old twins. It was so nice to meet them. You don't have twins, I know. I'm just using that as an example. You know, how are the kids doing? You mentioned soccer practice. It's like that's like rapport and rapport and rapport. At some point, it's really like enough is enough. Like it has to go from building rapport to keeping our conversation surrounding an appointment. So as we start to shift that conversation, it was so great to meet you and the kids. When is a good time for us to set an appointment to actually get together? She says, you know what, the next 2 weeks are crazy. We're actually going to Hawaii in 3 days. We'll be gone for 10 days. Can we talk after that? Absolutely. We're keeping our eye on the prize, which is let's ultimately get together and meet and sit down and discuss how we can help each other, how it can help you transact some real estate. Okay. So it's just a constant conversation we're having with our leads. This is kind of a cool point that we don't always think about. Since we all have the same leads, thinking they're going to get better with age makes no sense. The leads that we all have, other agents have them. If they're walking into Laura's open house, then they're walking into Matt's open house, right? They're going into 5 different open houses on that day, right? If they're Sean's past client, they could be Lewis's center of influence. When people are looking to buy or sell a home, they usually share that with their friends. Word gets out. So as you have a lead, remember, you're not the only one that has that lead. There's probably 2 or 3 or 4 other agents that know that this person wants to buy or sell a piece of real estate. So it really doesn't make sense to just sit on it and not do anything and just give it an extra couple of weeks or couple of months or whatever and just hope that they're going to just contact you when they're ready to buy something. It really does make sense that we get a little bit more, we'll say the word aggressive, but involved is the right word in our lead follow-up. Next point, leads do not represent security. They're names on a piece of paper that need to be called. Mark on my team, who's on another call right now, he couldn't be on this call at the moment, really learned this lesson in a very hard way. He is a great prospector. He's prospecting 3 hours a day. He's developing leads. And he got himself to a point where he had all these leads. And what he didn't realize is that leads don't represent any level of security if they're not turned into an appointment. Leads, in fact, as this point indicates, are just names on a piece of paper. The worst part of that situation is of thinking that you have some value when you have names on a piece of paper, people that say they want to buy or sell, is it makes you feel like you have something, and then you lose the motivation to go produce more. If you've gone to an open house and you've developed, there's 5 people that you've got names and phone numbers, and you feel like, wow, I really worked hard this weekend. I got 5 names and phone numbers. They want to do something. And then the next weekend rolls around and there's another open house opportunity. You say, you know what? I don't need to do that open house. I've already got 5 great leads. Are you calling them? What happens if you call them and you find out that all 5 of them actually don't need to buy or sell any real estate? That's one reason that people don't do lead follow-up. They're afraid of what they might find out. What if I find out I have no leads? Well, that doesn't feel good. So the problem with just being this aggregator and collector of too many leads is that you lose the urgency to go create more leads. And the B side, the second thing that's problematic about developing or holding on to too many leads and not calling them, is that you never move forward. It's like sitting in a rocking chair. You're just creating leads and sitting on those leads and shuffling those leads and creating rapport, but you're not actually taking any forward movement for your business. So by calling those leads and asking for an appointment, you're actually taking forward movement and moving your business forward in a very productive manner. We overprotect our leads by putting them into computers and elaborate systems rather than just calling them every single day. So for those of us that have CRMs, Do you use, do you have a CRM that you use? Do you use Outlook? What is your lead follow-up system? For many of the top producers that I know across the country over the past 20 years, a lot of them, before they had these fancy systems, just ran very successful businesses on the most simple of lead follow-up systems. This is what it was essentially. They would get a lead, they would have a 3x5 card, and they would write down on that piece of paper the date they got the lead, the name, the address, the phone number, the motivation, and they would keep that card on them. And they would carry that lead around with them, and they would call it every day. Very elementary, nothing sophisticated about that. If the person said call them back in 2 weeks, they would have one of those folios, drop them in 2 weeks from now, and then forget about them until that date rolled around. There are people that ran businesses and that still do, selling 100 to 200 homes a year, that have a very simple lead follow-up system, which is just a name on a piece of paper that they follow up with on a regular basis. One of the things that I think a lot of agents get caught up in is these very fancy websites and CRMs and computer systems. And the truth is that we don't want to use it as a creative avoidance activity where we think we're working and we're fiddling around with all these computer programs and we're not actually taking some forward movement. So just be wary of that. If you have a system that's working well for you, use it. If it's more cumbersome, then ditch it. It's just not worth it. You don't want to lose business because of it.
Hey, Aaron, that postcard that you were talking about, hands down, was the most efficient lead generation follow-up system I ever used. When I used that is when I grew my business the most. Couple things, right? Because when you're writing it down, you're remembering it. So I didn't need to go back and like check, oh, who do I need to call? I knew who I needed to call. And it was so easy because I just had a stack of cards in my purse and a pen. Anyone you're talking to, anytime, like you always have that. The piece of paper can go into the filing system. It was so efficient. It was stupid. I don't know why I ever tried to become modern with the computer system because it was so difficult. The note cards were the best.
Yeah. What system are you using now?
I tried to go to like more simple, and I stopped using like CRMs and just went back to like just a basic Outlook spreadsheet, and that's doing better. But I think I should actually go back to the note cards.
Yeah,
100%.
What you can do is you can just take your 5 hottest leads and keep them on cards, and then you have them with you at all times. Because ultimately you have some people that are going to do something in the next couple of weeks and something people in the next couple of months. So, there's no need to have that level of urgency with someone that's going to do things, 6 months from now. So just pick out your 3 to 5 hottest ones and keep them with you all the time. So next point, our goal is to call every lead at the exact moment that they're thinking about making the decision to sell their home or buy a home. The more leads I have choking my system, the less chance I have that I'm calling them at the right moment. So let's kind of unpack this just a little bit. Lead follow-up is all about following up with people and catching them at the right time, right? And that's an effectiveness of the system. So if somebody says, if you're prospecting and you find somebody that happens to want to do something over the next couple of weeks, you're going to have a different cadence to your lead follow-up than if they say something, I want to do something in the next couple of months, right? You're not going to call them, every 2 to 3 days if they want to do something 6 months from now. If they want to do something, if they're looking to sell their home in the next couple of weeks, you're going to call them the next 2 to 3, couple of days. So there's a cadence that you want to learn to follow to be effective in your lead follow-up. And the goal of that is to really be in tune with asking the right questions and determining people's timing so that you can be there, effectively follow up when they're ready. One great way to do this is to always cut the period of time in half. When you're talking to someone and they say, we're thinking about moving to Arizona, when are you thinking about doing that, or what brings you out there? We're going to probably do it in about 6 months. In your mind, it's always good to cut that time in half because what'll generally happen is 6 months from now, you follow up with them, their house is already listed. So that's just a general rule to follow, is just cut all timeframes in half. Next point, we have to remove the following thought. I can take a non-motivated person and through long-term lead follow-up, make them motivated. This is poor business thinking, and it's your ego really at work. Again, we have to remove this thought. I can take a non-motivated person and through my amazing lead follow-up, turn them motivated. That doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. There's a problem when you are more motivated than the client is. Sure, we all want to take listings and make sales. We all want to do business. But there's something lopsided if we have more personal motivation for them to sell their house than they do, right? That's not really a lead. So once we have a lead that we're following up with, be real, like understand, are they motivated to do something or not? If they're not going to do something, if they're not truly a lead, there's no need to hold on to them. And to say that one day, if I continue to follow up, they may do something, so I don't want to throw them away. I mean, it's a $4 million house. It's irrelevant. Much, much better to ask great questions and really determine the level of motivation. And if they're motivated, then it's worth following up. If they're not motivated, let's not think that through our amazing lead follow-up or through some, I don't know, some magical thing that's going to happen, all of a sudden things are going to change and we're going to get that listing. Lead follow-up is about being very, very realistic. It's about asking very specific questions. Where are you thinking about moving to? What's important about that move? Why are you making that move? You know, so it's the where, the when, and the why that we want to understand. And ultimately, by going through those questions, if there's no level of motivation, it really doesn't make sense to keep that person in our system and keep following up for weeks and months and years. In fact, it's a total waste of time. Next point. Remember, for you to close 50 transactions every year, we'll just use that number, you only need 75 to 100 good leads. For you to close 25 transactions in a year, you only need 30 to 50 great leads. You don't have to develop, depending on what your goal is, you really need 2 to 3 times that goal in the number of leads. If you are truly defining what a lead is. Sean, what's your goal for the year as far as transactions?
Seven transactions.
Okay. So we are in April. So let's call it 1 a month, right?
Okay.
1 a month. So really all you need is something like 14 really great leads. Really great leads. Now, if you're not defining that those 14, you know, what a great lead is, then you're kind of just like a ship without a rudder, right? But if you defined for yourself, I'm going to prospect my butt off and I'm going to find somebody that needs to buy or sell a home in the next 30 days. And that's all I'm going to do. That's all I'm going to focus on. All you have to do is find 14 of those people over the next, 7 or 8 months and take half of that business and you've got your goal. The point of this is that you really don't need to develop hundreds or thousands of leads. You really just need to find, 10 or 15 really, really good ones. So when you're out prospecting for business, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for people that really need to buy or sell a home. that really have a level of motivation to buy or sell a home. What you're not looking for is, 100 people or 200 people or 500 people that have some like little inkling about one day potentially doing something, right? As you've been door knocking, this is kind of new for you. You're realizing that some people you come across truly do have motivation to do something very, very soon. So as you identify those people, you can really see what a lead looks like and really begin to focus and continue to focus on finding more of those people through your prospecting. Next point, keep your lead cards. This is for Laura. Keep your lead cards with you at all times and continue calling them until you get an appointment, because other people have your leads also. Now, Laura, you do a lot of business with your center of influence, right? So you might feel comfortable that, you know what, maybe other people have these leads, but they're going to work with me because they're my friends. But we don't all have that luxury. So
I
keep
mean,
your
when you have that mindset and then they work with somebody else, it stings. It stings bad, right? Because then they trust you enough to call you and ask her and be like, everything went wrong. And I'm like, my fault. My fault.
Yeah.
I didn't follow up. I didn't treat you like a client. I didn't treat you like a customer. I treated you too much like a friend.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, I mean, this point, keep your lead cards with you at all times. You're running around, you're in the car, you have a few minutes, call them, check in with them. How you doing? You still looking to buy a home? Let's go ahead and get together. Let's meet. Do your lead follow-up right after your prospecting is completed, because your mindset is still strong. For those of you that prospect, Matt, when do you do your prospecting? Is that something you do in the morning or the afternoon? When do you typically do your prospecting?
9 to 12 typically.
Yeah. And then do you take a break after that, or you jump into lead follow-up, or is it a little looser? Like, when do you typically do your lead follow-up?
Lead follow-up morning, afternoon, probably after 3. But I like the idea of putting it right after. As you said, that I just wrote it down, to be honest, for whatever reason. It just makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, so there's part of lead follow-up is mindset, right? It's kind of how you show up to the call. It's kind of you show up, you ask great questions. It's like prospecting in many ways. And you're probably at your sharpest after a really strong prospecting session. If you're on the phones for a few hours, it might make sense to go out and do a handful of lead follow-up calls right after you get done with your prospecting, while your mind is sharp, and see if you can grab some people on the phone. The next point is super important. And the point is, prospecting without good lead follow-up is a complete waste of time. If you're going to go, like Sean does and knock doors for 3 hours, if you're going to be like Matt and be on the phones for a couple of hours, if you're going to do a really powerful open house and get all these great names and phone numbers while you're at the open house, if you do that level of prospecting, but you're not going to do lead follow-up, it's a complete waste of time. Does anybody on the call have that issue, that they generate leads, but they're not strong at lead follow-up, or they have any issues surrounding lead follow-up that we can kind of bring to the surface and discuss a little bit?
I had a mental block for a long time around that. A long time.
About what?
The same thing Mark experienced. Prospecting and always going cold instead of doing any lead follow-up. And I never understood why. I never understood if it was my goal was in the wrong place. At some point, I think the conversation was this in my head. At some point in the beginning, my goal was to just make the calls, and then it was to make contacts, and then it was to make appointments. But it was never about the deal. And the feeling of having a lead was the juice for me, So I don't know if my intention was around the wrong thing, but yeah. And then once you go to follow up, once you get your mind around it, you see that it's two things. You see that all those people actually did something because they said they would sell. You looked it up before and they closed with somebody else, which sucked. But you also realize that you're talking to the right people, which if you can put that into practice is like super powerful. So the shift that's happened in my head when I realized that I probably lost, not that you would get all of them, but you were talking to 100 people that sold, because here's a list of the 50 or 100 people that closed. And I'm talking a year or 2 or 3 later. I'm not talking this happened in like 6 months. I'm talking about you prospect for a year or two, and then a year or two later, you get to the point of, okay, it's time to follow up because I haven't been doing it. And you realize that.
So
Yeah.
it's, and now looking back, it's kind of crazy that you would have that mental block. But what Matt is really discussing is something that Chad here on the call is going through as well. In the beginning, when you just are learning how to prospect, you're just learning how to talk to people. It's a big deal to carve out an hour a day or 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day, just to block out the time. It's mentally exhausting to do lead generation. It's exhausting. So you have to just get over that first hump. And then once you start to generate on a regular basis, you realize that, my gosh, I'm talking to all these people, but I'm not actually setting any appointments. So you have to learn, oh, I got to be better at what I'm saying and my confidence and my scripting and all that. Then you start getting all these appointments and you learn that, my gosh, I'm getting in front of these people. I'm not making any sales. So you have to work on your skill set regarding surrounding a listing presentation and a buyer presentation. And then you start maybe taking some listings and you realize, I'm taking now some listings. I can't sell any of these things. Well, I got to learn how to price them better and negotiate better. And so it's just building a foundation. And I totally, get where you're at. I was doing the same thing, Matt. And I think a lot of agents do that, but it's just layering on, brick by brick yourself it's business maturity as a real estate person. And you've just, look at how far you've come, really. It's been an insane journey, and you're infinitely better than you were just a few years ago.
Yeah.
So,
and I just have one more thing to add, because it's really those two things. It's getting the habit of talking to people, then getting better at it, and that's it. But I think what you just experienced, or what you just spoke about, is what I experienced is a learning curve about each part of that job, which I was on a team, right? And I went through it and then went solo, and there is a learning curve around talking to people, then getting better at the scripts, and then the listing process, and then taking a listing and then selling it, which then you stop the prospecting because you only have so much time and your learning curve. So this is why I'm trying to come back here, is to shorten these learning curves around each of those areas, because that's all it is. The sooner you do that, the only way to do that is training, I think.
yeah, absolutely. The last point for the day is this: let your prospects know that you're going to call them aggressively to demonstrate the type of service that you offer. That seems almost counterintuitive. Let your prospects know that you're going to call them aggressively to demonstrate the type of service that you offer. I used to do this all the time when I was calling, let's say, an expired listing, right? Call the expired listing. I know they're going to do something. I know they're going to relist, and they're just not ready for the appointment. So I would just tell them, listen, Ray, I say, Ray, listen, I really appreciate your time on the phone. I totally get that you're not ready for an appointment right now, but I really want to demonstrate to you, once you end up listing the property with me, I want to demonstrate in advance how my behavior is going to be, because I have to do a tremendous amount of follow-up with buyers that want to purchase your home. So to show you the kind of salesperson that I am, I'm going to follow up with you relatively aggressively, so that when you're ready to set an appointment, I'll be there and ready to meet with you. And they're like, okay, whatever. Call them up the next day. Hey, Ray, it's Aaron Klapper. I just wanted to follow up with you and see if you're ready for that appointment. Like I said, I'm going to be following up aggressively. But again, it's just to display kind of my professional enthusiasm as a salesperson. There's nothing more important to me than getting your home on the market and getting it sold. Are you ready for the appointment yet? Or shall I just keep following up? I'm not ready yet, Aaron. Okay, no problem. We'll talk to you in a bit, Ray. Have a good one. Next day. Ray, it's Aaron Klapper again. Just aggressively following up so I could display my value as a salesperson. Are you ready to meet just yet? I had more people list. In fact, I had a call like 2 weeks ago. I think Sean or Chad, maybe you were in the office and I played the voicemail. This guy just said, you kept calling and calling and calling, and I'm calling you back. I'm ready now. So it's okay to just be honest with people and let them know this is who I am. It's what I do. I'm totally enthusiastic to really, serve you at a very high level. And this is what I'll be doing. I'm going to be following up with you until you're ready. You don't have to do that with a friend. That was something I did with an expired listing because I knew that there was other agents calling that expired listing, or with a for sale by owner. It's a little different. Certainly, if you get a referral from a good friend of yours, a friend of a friend, you don't have to be that aggressive in your lead follow-up. But you have access to that if and when the situation permits it or allows it or encourages that to be, a successful part of the transaction. So let's open it up a little bit. Does anybody have any specific challenges that you're going through that we can kind of that we can share as a group? The truth of the matter is, one of us going through a challenge, the other one is probably facing it. There's not that many challenges, and we all go through the same stuff. So is there anything anybody's kind of currently working on or having some trouble with that we can address as a group? Laura's hand is up. What you got?
I was trying to give somebody else, because I'm always eager to talk. So I was trying to give someone else a chance. So I'm kind of struggling with, right now, the market is changing and it's changing aggressively. And in reality, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. Interest rates are going to go up, our prices are going to come down, supply and demand. My problem is, like, as my clients and like my leads that are like not quite ready, they're getting spooked by things that other people are saying, right? Like, they have a cousin that's a lender and they don't do any business, and that cousin tells them, like, oh, interest rates are going to be 9% by the end of the year, and they're believing that, right? Like, how are you going about trying to maybe like not like be like aggressive with saying, like, hey, yeah, the market's going to change and we don't know what's going to happen, without spooking them? Like, what are some like the scripts you guys are saying to try to like motivate with enthusiasm and importance, right? Like, what's the word I'm trying to come up with? Like, try to
I
get
think
them to
it's
do something else
yeah, I think it's a
without
case by
freaking
case
them out.
basis. I think it's case by case. So let's take this person. Like, you have somebody very specific in mind.
Yeah.
Let's try and get very specific, because that's much easier. Is this somebody that wants to buy or sell?
She wants to buy.
Okay. And does she currently own a home?
No.
Okay. So she's currently renting.
Mhm.
Okay. And so somebody's telling her the rates are going to go up to 9%.
Mhm.
And what does she want to buy now? Does she want to wait? What's important to her?
She wants to buy now. She has quite a large down that's just sitting in the bank.
Okay.
And since they sold like their aunt's home, she just recently became like a longshoreman, so she's not a casual anymore, so she has like more stability. So, and she has 3 kids that are old, like now older, like they're teenagers, and they're in a 2-bedroom 1-bath house.
Okay. So I honestly don't understand the question. So somebody's spooking her, and it's just you're saying, it sounds to me like that would create some more motivation for her to buy something sooner rather than later.
Right. And I see the motivation. I'm just looking for like new things to say, right? I feel like I've said it all. Or like, maybe I'm not getting to her true objection, like why she's like, maybe I'm not finding out the reason why she's not motivated. And maybe I'm not finding that reason.
Yeah, I mean, I never would. I don't know what's going on with the rates. Neither does that lender. So I'm always kind of the calming effect with people. I don't know what's going to happen. All I can speak to realistically is what's happening right now that I can see. Are the rates going up a little bit? Sure. Is the market still really strong? Sure. Is real estate a wonderful long-term investment 100% of the time? Absolutely. So I don't know. I try not to, if she's coming up with something that someone else is saying, I just tie it down to what is important to her. Are you still looking to buy a home? Is it something that you want to do? If you do want to buy a home, what's your time frame? Is it something you want to do right now? Do you want to do it later? If you want to do it later, what's important about later? I'm not sure. I don't get the question, actually, to tell you the truth, Laura.
You actually kind of brought it back to exactly what I was looking for is I was trying to find new ways to motivate and like hear what other people are saying. In reality, I can't motivate, right? You just said it. It's going back to her. I said it out loud too, is I'm obviously missing a piece. I'm missing her motivation. So
Right.
either her I think it's just me checking back in with
So
her
why don't we do this
motivation.
then? Maybe this would be better. And it's almost like disqualifying, the motivation. What's her name?
Michelle.
Michelle. So let's role play it real quick, right?
Mhm.
So, well, you be Michelle. I'll just call you Laura. So Laura, you mentioned that you wanted to potentially buy a house. Is that still something you're thinking about?
Yeah.
You are? Okay. And is that something that are you ready to start the process now, or you want to start it later? Tell me about your timing a little bit.
Well, I'm concerned about interest rates. I don't really feel like it's a good time to buy right now.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
Well, a friend of mine said that interest rates are going up, and by the time I'm ready, interest rates are going to be at like 9%.
Okay. I mean, I personally would be shocked if that happens. Are you aware of what interest rates are at right now?
No, not really.
They're like less than half of that. They're super low, in fact, like historically low. So, I mean, my opinion is that aside from interest rates, I wouldn't worry about the interest rates. They're still fine. But let's just put that off to the side right now. Forget interest rates for a moment. Okay, let's just put that off to the side. All things being good with the interest rates, do you still want to buy something? Like, are you looking to buy something? What's your timing, assuming the interest rates weren't going anywhere and they were going to stay low for a while? When's the opportune time for you to purchase a home? When would you want to do that?
Well, I want to do it now. Like my family's outgrown their house. Like our house is just too small.
Okay. All right. And is there anything else really stopping you? Is there anything else that's going on in your life that would inhibit you from purchasing a home?
No.
Okay. Sounds like you want to do it then. It's just this interest rate thing that's maybe freaking you out a little bit or concerning you a little bit.
Right. I feel like it's just, I feel like the market's aggressive. Maybe, maybe it's the market. I like something stopping me.
Okay. Okay, so we'll come out of the role play for a second. I would want to unpack that even more, like, because it doesn't make sense. Like, if it's truly just interest rates, listen, they're low right now. It sounds like you still want to buy something, so let's go ahead and get you qualified with the lender. And if the rates go up, you don't have to buy anything. Sound good? But there's something, I don't think it's that, Laura, to tell you the truth. And I don't think you know what it is, which is making this role play a little difficult.
Right. I think that's, I'm missing that piece. And I think I forgot to stop tackling the objection that she's handing me, because it's not an objection, right? No. I've already touched bases it. I've already covered it. I've already talked to her about it.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's like beating a dead horse, right? And then I don't know what the next
try the tactic of asking the reverse motivation. Michelle, why not just stay? Why buy a house? You seem comfortable with where you're at. Why not just stay where you're at for another year or two? What's the rush? No.
Right.
I got to move because blah, blah, blah. I think there's more questioning there. I don't think interest rates doesn't make sense. It's not logical. If rates are going up, why wouldn't you want to buy now?
Right. I think you're right. And I think saying it out loud brought me back to the reality is that, like, go back to the basics, go backwards, right? Start from the beginning over and over and over again. Because I'm missing a motivation. I'm missing a fear. I'm missing her true objection. I'm missing something. Yeah. And I need to get that out of her before I can continue to move forward.
Yeah. Why is it important that she's moving? When would she really like to do it? And what's important about that? That's it. Where does she want to go? When does she want to go be there? And why? What's really the importance of that? You really get to the bottom of those, like really get to the bottom, really understand why that's important. Or what her, she has some hesitation. You just haven't uncovered it. Anybody else? Any current issues, challenges that you're having that we can address as a group? All right, everyone's got everything figured out. Awesome, love it. All right, guys. Well, listen, I just want to thank you for your participation this week. We're going to continue next week with some unbelievable points. And if there's anything you need between this week and next week, reach out. Otherwise, keep crushing it. Have a great day and talk to you in a week.